A few years ago, I found myself sitting at this exact desk, staring at a single paragraph for 20 minutes. So it was a book on literature. I spoke the language, I knew the letters, but as my eyes moved across the pages, the words felt like water slipping through my fingers. Nothing was sticking. I remember the exact feeling that washed over me. It was quiet. It was frustrating. It was a frustrating realization. I thought, maybe I am not smart enough for this. Maybe these books belong to a higher tier of intellect, and I am stuck on the outside looking in. We have all been there. You pick up a dense non-fiction book, a historical text, or a complex essay. You read a page, you blink, and you realize you have absolutely no idea of what you just read. But here is the truth. I wish someone had whispered to me back then that reading problem is not an intelligence problem. It is a skill problem. We are victim of an education system that taught us how to pronounce words, but never actually taught us on how to dissect a complex thought. Today, I am to share through hidden skills that completely change how my brain processes information. Once you learn them, difficult books do not look like scary words anymore. They just look like puzzle waiting to be solved. So the first thing you need to do is actually to build your understanding, to build your memory, or let me say to build the vault. So the first breakthrough happened when I stopped treating reading like a race. I used to think that, slowing down was a sign of defeat. If I had to pause to look something up, I felt like I was failing. But everything changed when I introduced the concept of comprehension. Think of comprehension as the individual building blocks of a house. If you do not know what the bricks are made of, the house will never make sense. When you enter a new field, whether it is economics, history, or science, the authors use specific jargons, words like sovereignty or structuralism. If you just skim past them, the whole paragraph collapses. Therefore, I started doing some exercises that really helped me. I took one difficult paragraph and circled every single word I did not fully understand. Then I looked up a brief definition and wrote it down. People told me, if you continue to do this, the semester will run out of you. You will use 10 years in reading a book, blah, 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 blah. But here is actually the truth of the matter. That is an investment. When you define a word on page 5, you don't have to look up that same word on page 15 again. So you are building a mental vault of ideas. The next time you open a book in that genre, your reading speed skyrockets because you already speak the language and you already understand the jargon of that particular concept or field. But the second thing you also need to do is very, very much important as the number one itself, which I call coherence. Because knowing the words is only half of the battle. Sometimes you know every single word on the page and the sentence still feel like absolute chaos. That is where the second skills come in. It is called coherence. So if comprehension is about the building blocks, coherence therefore is about the part you take, in showing how the blocks actually connect. So I started realizing that authors actually leave a trail of breadcrumbs. They use tiny logical anchors called connectives or conjunctions. So these are words that actually show, a sequence of events. Because gives you a cause. However, signals a sudden U-return in the argument and therefore delivers the ultimate conclusion. Do you understand what I'm trying to talk about now? So when a text gets confusing, don't focus on the big scary concepts. Look for the connective tissues. Look for the connective words. My second daily exercise becomes circling these exact conjunctions in a tough paragraph. Once you highlight them, you can suddenly see the skeleton of the author's argument. You realize that they are just rambling. Basically, they are taking you on a very specific journey. You stop reading words and you start tracking the moments of an idea. But now, actually, all of us are having a mobile phone. We are already in a modern age. In this modern age, you can really assist yourself by going through a lot of things. Right now, you can use artificial intelligence to actually sum up and to actually assist you with many of these things. As a matter of fact, you can even bring up all these words and send it to artificial intelligence, and in just a few seconds it's going to generate even different adjectives and concepts in that particular field that you don't know. Each of these jargons, it can make it simplified for you and you are not going to have any problem with it at all. So I really want to advise that you should embrace artificial intelligence if you have not done that yet. But always remember that artificial intelligence is not the brain. You yourself must continue to be your brain, but you just need to learn how to use artificial intelligence to benefit what you are actually doing. In conclusion, all I've been talking about since the beginning of this video is that you should actually learn to do two major things. Number one, which is the comprehension. And number 2, the coherence. Number 3, which I added to it, I said make use of artificial intelligence, and I particularly said that you should pay attention to jargons in the book that you are reading. When we say jargons, we are referring to words that are particular to that particular field of study, and also look for connectives like conjunctions, and also look for adverbials, look for adjectives. Get acquainted with all these things, and you're not going to be having any problem going through them. So if this video has actually helped you in any way, I want you to watch other videos on this YouTube channel, and I want you to share it with other people that can actually benefit from it. Share it to your friend now, share it to your brothers now, share it to everyone around you. Let them learn so that all of us can learn and grow as we read together. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.